Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, getting you set up for a big Week 6 Saturday. And what games are on television and my personal options and my choices entering this weekend's play. We're about 90 minutes away from the noon Eastern Time kickoff. I think about doing this all the time as I review the schedule, cutting a video, basically looking at a viewer's guide to the weekend's play in college football. But ClemsonAlum98, I credit you as giving me just the push to do it for Week 6. ClemsonAlum98, I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you see this video because it's because of you that I'm producing it. All right. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. That's doing your part. I will do my part with the best analysis in college football. All right. Here we go. Let's start from the top at noon Eastern Time. Here are the options. Obviously, it depends on your cable service and internet options and the like, satellite and so forth. For me, I have 3 screens. I've got a 50-inch TV. I believe it's a 50-inch at least. And then I've got 2 laptops. So here we go. At noon, you've got Utah State at LSU on the SEC network. ABC's featuring Kansas hosting Oklahoma. ESPNU's got the Kent State-Wisconsin game. Stellar. ESPN, Penn State-Purdue. Iowa, Michigan on Fox. FS1 features Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. The Big Ten Network, Maryland and Rutgers. CBS Sportsnet's got Army, Tulane. And then at 12:30, we've got a couple games with the ACC alternate network featuring Boston College and Louisville. All right. My approach is going to be Michigan, Iowa. It's not even close. Michigan, Iowa, front and center. That gets my full attention, or 90% of my attention. I do not have the ACC network. I do not have the SEC network. I will be watching as a secondary game Penn State and Purdue, and also Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Now, if there's a situation in which one of those games becomes a blowout, and even if it's the likes of Maryland Rutgers, or even Tulane and Army is 21-17, 24-all, is a tight game in the fourth quarter, and I've got another game on that's one of my primary games that turns out to be 48-14 in the fourth quarter, well, there's no reason to watch the rest of that game. So I will flip to a game, and I catch a lot of the ends of games, even in the group of 5 stacked up against a ton of Power 5 games, if it's an exciting conclusion. Somebody goes to overtime, or I know that there's a final drive with somebody down 31-27. All right, but that's my approach. Michigan, Iowa, by far the best game at noon, followed by Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and Purdue and Penn State are my 2 alternates to start the window. Then we've got an interesting timing situation on ESPN2. I don't know what else is going on ESPN2 because they typically line up with ESPN with a noon game, then a 3:30 game. But this weekend, we've got TCU at Iowa State on ESPN2 at 2 o'clock. So that's certainly an option if one of the other games becomes a blowout. At 3:30, we've got Auburn, Florida on CBS. Bowling Green, Notre Dame on NBC. Texas, West Virginia on ABC. Got a number of ESPN Plus opportunities here. And then, again, I'm not understanding. Maybe that's a typo. It's showing on the ESPN guide Baylor at Kansas State on ESPN2 at 3:30. But it also shows a 2 o'clock game with TCU and Iowa State. I got to think that's a noon game. And if, in fact, Iowa State and TCU play at noon on ESPN2, because I've never seen a 2 o'clock game on ESPN, that's going to become an option, really weighing heavily versus Penn State-Purdue, which could become a blowout quickly, and Oklahoma State-Texas Tech. So that TCU-Iowa State is probably my second option at noon. All right, let's get to 3:30. Finishing out with Minnesota, Illinois on BTN. CBS Sportsnet features Navy and Air Force. Interesting game, but don't have time to watch it. ESPN's got Virginia Tech and Miami. Also at 3:45, Memphis, Louisiana, Monroe. And there you go for your 3:30 window. Best game by far. It's similar to Michigan, Iowa at noon. It's the must-see Auburn, Florida at 3:30. My secondary screens will be on, most likely, Texas, West Virginia on ABC. And then Baylor, Kansas State, 3:30 game on ESPN2. Baylor with a big win against Iowa State last week. Kansas State lost its first game as well. So that's what I'm looking at. Baylor, Kansas State at 3:30. And Texas, West Virginia on the secondary screens. Auburn, Florida, 3:30 Eastern Time. All right, we've got some other matchups in here. The SEC Network features Troy, Missouri at 4, North Carolina, Georgia Tech on the ACC Network at 4. All right, prime time. Georgia, Tennessee. I always start out with that 7 o'clock game on ESPN. That's what it is this week. It should be a blowout soon. But it's an SEC game. It features one of the top 3 to 5 teams in the country. It features another team that's struggling under Jeremy Pruitt, but a prominent program. So I'm going to gravitate to Georgia, Tennessee, even though I anticipate the blowout because of the name brands of the two teams and the two programs. So I'm going to hope that's a decent game. I'm going to start out at 7 o'clock, and sometimes it works out that by 7:30, 7:45, Georgia's up 28-3. Sorry, that disrespects Georgia. 28-0, 28-0, and then I move on to the other games. And I know I've seen everything I need to see from Georgia, Tennessee. I've seen all the meaningful play. I can move on to something else. All right, because at 7:30, we've got Ohio State hosting Michigan State on ABC. We've got a decent under-the-radar game in Tulsa, SMU on ESPNU. You folks who have the SEC Network can enjoy Vandy and Ole Miss. Fox features Cal and Oregon. We've got Pitt and Duke on the ACC Network, and that's our primetime window. There's not a whole lot there. Maybe Fox is focusing on baseball. No, they've got a Cal-Oregon game. They probably have the baseball playoffs on FS1, I would guess. All right, so again, I'm gonna watch Georgia, Tennessee at 7 o'clock. Then at 7:30, regardless of what's going on with that game, I'm going to flip the primary focus to Ohio State, Michigan State, with Georgia, Tennessee as a priority after that, if it's still a close game. And then Cal and Oregon's going to catch that second spot most likely at 8 o'clock behind Michigan State, Ohio State, because Georgia, Tennessee is going to be a blowout. And I'm going to go with Oregon-Cal as my second game of focus. And then probably, despite the score, Georgia-Tennessee keeps that third spot on my laptop. Unless, again, in the fourth quarter, if Tulsa-SMU is very riveting, I'm going to switch a screen to Tulsa and SMU and watch the end of that game. All right. Late night, we've got San Diego State at Colorado State on ESPN2. ESPN features Stanford and Washington, which is probably not the game that it typically is. Washington's a 2-touchdown favorite. And then late night on CBS Sportsnet, we've got Boise State and UNLV. So a light fare late night. Typically, we've got 2 Pac-12 games and a really good Mountain West game. We've got a mediocre Pac-12 game, most likely, with Stanford not as good as they typically are, taking on Washington, and 2 okay Mountain West matchups. So I'll definitely watch Washington and Stanford, but I'm going to be live streaming right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, as you know. But there it is for the day in college football. Enjoy. Keep it locked in here. We'll be available all day with live streams and instant analysis here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Enjoy your day. Get me some sponsors, and we will see you soon.